It started with an envelope. Not the kind that brings good news, not the kind that smells like hope or happiness, just a stiff white rectangle, dropped crooked in my mailbox, already damp from the Texas humidity. No return address. Just a gold-embossed seal and a familiar handwriting that used to bring me nothing but pride. Save the date. The date was hers, my daughter's wedding. I stood there on the porch for a while, holding that envelope like it was something fragile. My thumb brushed the paper, and I swear I could still see her as a little girl, sitting cross-legged on this same porch, coloring invitations to her imaginary tea parties. She'd insist I RSVP, even when it was just me and her teddy bear sitting in plastic chairs. I carried the letter inside, sat down at the kitchen table, and poured myself a bourbon. The good one, the one I save for quiet nights when the world feels too loud. The rain had started again, soft at first, then harder, drumming against the windows. It used to be our favorite sound. She'd fall asleep to it on the couch, curled up beside me after her mother left. Back then, it was just us against everything. When I finally opened the envelope, I expected a formal card, some elegant calligraphy with her name and her fiancé's printed in gold. Instead, what fell out was a small, glossy square, save the date, and beneath it, a single sentence that changed everything. Limited seating. Immediate family of the bride only. I read it twice. Then again. I thought maybe I was missing something, like my name written somewhere on the back, a personal note, "Don't worry, Dad, of course you're invited." But there was nothing. I called her that evening. It rang 6 times before the line went to voicemail. The next morning, I got a text. Just one. "Dad, it's complicated. Please don't make a scene. We'll talk after the wedding." That was all. No "love you." No emoji. Not even her name signed at the bottom. I stared at the screen until the text blurred, until I saw her face in every letter. My daughter, the one who used to beg me to braid her hair before school, the one who cried when I missed a recital because of a double shift, the one who said she'd name her first daughter after her grandmother, was now politely asking me not to embarrass her. The bourbon didn't taste good after that. It burned, sharp and bitter, all the way down. I looked around the house, the same one I built with my own hands 25 years ago. The same roof I patched, the same floors I refinished, the same walls that once echoed with her laughter. Everything I had ever done was for her. Every hour, every dollar, every choice. And now, apparently, none of it was good enough for her new life. Because I wasn't immediate family. Because I was poor. That word, unspoken but implied, sat heavier than the storm outside. I didn't sleep much that night. I just kept thinking about how easily the world measures worth these days, by brand, by car, by title. By optics, as they call it. And I couldn't stop wondering when my daughter had stopped seeing me as her father, and started seeing me as an embarrassment. By midnight, the bourbon was gone. By dawn, something else was gone too. Not love, no, love doesn't disappear that easily. It was the illusion that she still respected me. I didn't know it yet, but that letter was the first spark in a fire I didn't know I still had in me. A fire that would burn every false thing she'd built, and maybe, just maybe, remind her where she really came from. She came 3 days later. I knew it was her before I even saw her face. Only one person I knew drove a car that hummed instead of roared. When I looked out the window, a sleek white Tesla was idling in the gravel driveway, headlights cutting through the morning mist like judgment. I stayed on the porch, pretending to read the paper. She stepped out, heels clicking against the stones, perfume so strong it made the air smell like an expensive apology. "Dad," she called, smiling the kind of smile you wear for photographs and strangers. "You look, well." "Well enough," I said. I folded the paper and gestured toward the porch chair. "You hear about that letter?" She hesitated, brushing invisible dust from her tailored dress. "Can we talk inside?" Inside, She took a slow look around, the way people do when they're evaluating a house for sale. Her eyes drifted across the old photographs on the wall, the ones of her high school graduation, her mother holding her as a baby, me in my work overalls, covered in sawdust and pride. The longer she looked, the quieter the room got. "Nice place," she said finally, which was funny, because I'd heard her call it quaint once to a friend on speakerphone, not realizing I'd heard. She sat down at the table, legs crossed, phone on the wood like it might save her from drowning. "So. I guess you got the card." "I did. And I'd like to hear you explain it." She sighed, long, tired, rehearsed. "Dad, please don't take it personally. It wasn't my idea. You know how weddings are, Ethan's family is particular." "Particular about what?" She smiled tightly, eyes flicking to the peeling paint on the wall. "About appearances. They're from a different world. You'd understand if you met them." "I see. They have this vision, this brand, I guess you could say. The ceremony's being covered by a few business publications, some sponsors are involved, and they want everything to look perfect. It's not that you're not welcome." I cut her off. "You didn't invite me." Her shoulders tensed. "Dad, please. You're twisting this." "No," I said quietly. "You are." She took a deep breath. "It's complicated. Ethan's parents think, well, they think your situation might distract from the event. They want things to feel elegant, cohesive. My situation? You know what I mean," she said, voice soft, as if the words could sting less that way. "The house, the truck, she motioned vaguely toward my flannel shirt, your lifestyle. My lifestyle paid for your college, your apartment, and your first car," I said, my voice low, even. Her cheeks flushed. "Dad, please don't make this harder. I'm not saying I agree, but I also don't want a scene. People talk. People always talk," I muttered. She reached across the table, her manicured nails brushing the wood, not me. "I love you, but you don't understand how this world works. Ethan's family, they have influence. They could open doors for me, for us. There it is," I said, sitting back. "For us. But I'm not part of us anymore, am I?" Her eyes flickered, guilty for half a second. Then she straightened. "I just need you to trust me on this. We'll have a smaller family dinner later. Something private." "Private? Like shame?" I looked at her for a long time, and for the first time in my life, I didn't recognize her. The girl who once cried when I sold her old bike because it had memories, was now trading me away for an upgraded seat at a rich man's table. I stood up. "You done explaining?" Her lips parted, like she might say something else, but then she just nodded. As she turned to leave, her phone buzzed. I caught a glimpse of the screen, Ethan Redhart calling. She answered before she was even out the door. "Yeah, babe. It's fine. He took it well." The words hit like a hammer. He took it well. She didn't look back when she got into the car. The Tesla pulled away silently, almost gracefully, until it disappeared around the bend. The only sound left was the rain starting again, slow, steady, like applause for a tragedy. I stood there in the doorway for a long time. Then I went back inside, poured the rest of my coffee, and said it out loud, just once, so the walls would remember it if she never did. "That's the last time you walk into my home and take something from me." I didn't know exactly what I was going to do yet. But I knew this, I wasn't going to beg for a place in her world. Next time she saw me, she'd understand what kind of man she'd just erased. After she left, silence filled the house like smoke, slow, suffocating, invisible but everywhere. The walls that once felt like home suddenly felt too small, too full of ghosts that didn't know they'd been forgotten. I sat in my chair, staring at the spot where she'd stood. The coffee had gone cold, but I couldn't bring myself to dump it out. Her perfume still lingered faintly in the air, sweet and artificial, the kind of scent you buy when you're trying to prove you've made it. I'd always known the world could change people. But I never thought it would change her. Not the kid who used to fall asleep on my shoulder after long fishing trips. Not the little girl who'd once said, "Daddy, I don't care if we're rich, I just want us to be happy." I poured a bourbon instead, sat back, and let the storm outside do the talking. Lightning flashed across the window, and for a moment, I caught my reflection in the glass. I looked old. Not just in years, but in spirit. The kind of old that comes from watching the people you love stop seeing you as human. I glanced at the photo shelf. One picture caught my eye, her high school graduation. She'd been so proud that day, said I was her hero. And in that photo, I looked like one. But the man holding that diploma beside her? He didn't exist anymore. He'd been buried under every sacrifice she'd already forgotten. I set the glass down, unfinished. There was no point drowning in the same bourbon that had watched me lose everything. I didn't want pity. I didn't want her guilt. I wanted clarity. That's when the thought came, quiet, calm, and absolute. She thought I was poor because I chose peace over spectacle. She mistook simplicity for failure. But what she didn't know, what nobody knew, was that I wasn't poor. Not even close. After her mother passed, I sold the construction business. Invested quietly. Land, oil, stocks. I'd made enough to never worry again. I just never flaunted it. I didn't care for the game of showing off. I thought I'd raised her to see past that. Apparently, I was wrong. I opened the bottom drawer of my old desk, where the papers sat untouched for years, bank statements, stock certificates, deeds. Numbers most people would never see in a lifetime. I traced my finger over the balance of one account. Enough to buy 10 Teslas. Enough to buy the whole damn vineyard she was getting married in. And in that moment, I knew. She had traded me for status, for image, for a lie, and now, she'd learned the price of that decision. I smiled, slow and steady. Not out of spite, but something colder, resolve. They thought I was small. Forgotten. They thought money made them better. So, I decided to teach them the kind of lesson money can't buy. Revenge wouldn't come from anger or humiliation. It would come from truth, delivered in silence, elegance, and undeniable presence. I turned off the light, left the papers on the table, and whispered to the dark. They wanted to see what rich looks like. Then they'll see it. I didn't sleep that night. Didn't need to. The kind of peace I'd been chasing for years came back to me in the shape of purpose. By sunrise, I already knew what I was going to do. At 8 sharp, I called James, my old lawyer and the closest thing I had to a brother. We hadn't spoken in years, but he picked up like no time had passed. "Jesus, Mike," he said, laughing. "You alive over there?" "Barely," I said. "But about to make things interesting." 2 hours later, I walked into his office wearing the same boots I'd built houses in for 30 years. He raised an eyebrow when he saw me holding a stack of folders. "Planning to sue someone or start an empire?" "Neither," I said. "Just buying myself a little dignity." I showed him the papers, accounts, stock statements, property records, even a few old oil rights I'd nearly forgotten about. He flipped through them, whistled low. "You sitting on this and living like a monk?" "I wasn't living poor," I said. "I was living quiet." We handled the legalities first, moved a few investments around, liquidated one old property I didn't care about, and set up a clean purchase. Something special. By the end of the day, I'd wired the funds for a brand new Bentley Continental GT, black, elegant, silent as a sin. It wasn't about the car itself. It was about what it said without saying a word. Next came the image. I wasn't about to fake anything. I just needed the truth to finally look like truth. I called Tom, an old friend who used to run a photography studio. "You still have that camera?" I asked. "For you. Always." "Why?" "I need a few photos. Something quiet. Real. The kind rich people post when they're pretending not to brag." By sunset, we were at the golf club just outside the city, same place I'd helped build 15 years ago. Tom took a few shots, me standing by the car, sleeves rolled up, gold light bouncing off the hood. One at the lake, another in front of the old house I'd restored for fun. I looked at them after, and for the first time in years, I saw a man who didn't need to apologize for his life. That night, I dusted off my old Facebook page, the one my daughter hadn't checked since college. I uploaded 2 pictures with quiet captions. "Some projects take a lifetime. Grateful for second chances." No bragging. No hashtags. By the next morning, my inbox was full. Old colleagues, neighbors, even local reporters. People love a mystery comeback story. And, like clockwork, the rumor spread. Mike got back into oil. He hit it big with land rights. He's sitting on millions. I didn't need to say a word. People did the work for me. 3 days later, a message appeared on my phone. It was from her. "Hey, Dad. I heard about everything, wow. I'm so proud of you. Listen, about the wedding, we'd really love for you to come after all. Things have changed." I stared at that message for a long while. Then I typed back, slowly. Things always do. The wedding day came bright and hot, the Texas sun burning like it had something to prove. The vineyard looked like a scene from a movie, white tents, crystal glasses, waiters in black vests. The kind of place where money doesn't whisper, it performs. I drove up slow, the Bentley gliding down the gravel drive. Heads turned. Conversation stalled. I saw her standing by the arch of roses, radiant in her dress, and for a moment, just one, I almost forgot why I was there. Almost. Ethan's father, all charm and expensive cologne, walked up first. "You must be the bride's father," he said, offering a hand like it came with a contract. "I suppose I am," I said, shaking it firmly. "And you must be the man who thought I couldn't afford a seat." His smile twitched, but only for a second. "Misunderstanding, I'm sure." "Of course," I said evenly, slipping the valet key into my pocket. "Happens all the time." Inside the reception hall, chandeliers sparkled like 1,000 empty promises. My daughter came rushing over, her voice too sweet, too loud. "Dad! You made it." "I did," I said, glancing around. Didn't want to miss the show. When it came time for speeches, she gave her thanks, Ethan cracked a few jokes, and then someone handed me the microphone. I stood, calm and steady. "I'll keep it brief," I began. "To my daughter, who's built a beautiful life, and to the family she's joined. They say money changes people. But I've learned it doesn't. It just shows who they already were." The room went still. I lifted my glass. "To truth, the one thing you can't buy." I drank. No anger, no gloating. Just peace. Later, she found me by the car, eyes wet, voice small. "Dad, why didn't you tell me?" I smiled gently. "You never asked." Then I left her standing there, surrounded by the luxury she'd traded me for. The next morning, the sky was overcast, and the world felt quieter than usual. I took the Bentley out to the edge of town, to a hill overlooking the city. The same place where I used to take her when she was a kid. Back then, she'd climb onto the hood of my old truck, point at airplanes, and say she'd fly one someday. She believed everything was possible. So did I. Now, I sat in silence, watching clouds drift over the skyline. The car hummed softly, but the sound felt hollow. I'd done what I came to do. I didn't ruin her wedding. I didn't humiliate her or the man she married. I simply reminded her, without words, what real worth looks like. My phone buzzed on the console. Her name lit up the screen. Dad, I'm sorry. Can we talk? I stared at the message, felt the ache rise and fade again. For a long moment, I considered replying. But then I looked at the horizon and realized I didn't need to. Revenge wasn't the satisfaction I thought it would be. It wasn't fire or triumph. It was silence, the kind that comes when the truth has finally been spoken, even without saying a word. I took out the old photo from my wallet, the one of her at 10 years old, holding up her first fishing catch. Her smile was wide, pure, free of everything the world would later teach her to care about. I brushed my thumb across her face and whispered. I hope you find that girl again. Then I folded the photo back, turned the key, and started down the road. As I drove past the vineyards, I caught sight of the reflection in the rearview mirror, sun breaking through the clouds, soft and golden. It felt like forgiveness, not for her, but for myself. Money could buy her a perfect life. But peace was finally mine. If this story spoke to you, please like, subscribe, and leave a comment. I'd love to hear your thoughts. You can continue the journey by clicking the box on the left. Thank you for being here.